Welcome back, ladies and gents. I hope you're all having an excellent day. In today's analysis, we're going to be getting into the Bitcoin charts. As usual, also taking a look at Chainlink and Ethereum. I want to share with you my thoughts on the lower time frames, the high time frames, but really putting the focus on the high time frames once again today, as it is starting to shape up very, very nicely for the bulls here. I want to discuss a few very important factors on the charts, on the weekly and the 1 day. Like I said, we will go through the lower time frames as well and speak about some critical regions and some potential trading opportunities there. But this will be a very important update on the high time frames. So make sure that you stay tuned for it. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off here on the weekly, I don't want to go through the oscillators too much here because as we know from the $29,000 long positions that presented themselves after the bounce to the upside, even after $35,000 on our weekly time frame, we did start to see the stochastic reverse from the critical zone here. This is typically going to be the reversal points in the market. We've already discussed all that. Our volatility index giving us multiple weeks off the green VIX here, showing us that a market bottom is close. All of these are really starting to play out. What we want to focus on today, though, is the price action, as the price action has started to come up to the yearly R3. Now, remember, we spoke about the kind of if you did miss long positions down here on the weekly time frame based on the support regions. The regions to really be watching for reversal for myself were the January 2021 highs, as we did have acceptance back into this range. And as you can see, that was actually where we retraced to back in May as well. And we did find resistance there at $42,000. And price did end up breaking this region. So this was the first and more aggressive region to be watching for a potential reversal. And then the second and a more conservative region to be watching was the yearly R3, as this was actually the last breakdown point based on a weekly time frame. We did try to bounce here actually 3 times. So we did set in a higher low, went to all-time highs once again at $46,149, continuation to $60,000. Once we came back down, we tried to set in another high low, which did end up failing. And once again, on the third hit, on the 10th of May, we did end up actually breaking this region. So this is an absolutely important region for me, and it has been over the past, really since May. I've spoken about this region as, this is for the past 80 days, as that was the last breakdown point. So getting back above this region, which price action is at right now, that would be acceptance back into the larger range at the all-time highs and getting some weekly open and closures above here. And you could be trading it off the lower time frames, but even some weekly open and closures, I would be looking at an ultimate move up to the all-time highs. So any pullbacks, even on the 1 day time frame, even on some of our 4-hour time frames, in my opinion, at least thus far, does not change the overall direction, as our oscillators still on the high time frames, such as a weekly, are still looking very good. The moving average here is getting a positive slope for the first time since the break to the downside, even since the $57,000 region before we had made our move to $64,000 back in February 2021. We actually had a negative sloping on this moving average. Now we're getting a positive sloping. The RSI is above the 50 level and overall getting above that resistance that we have had. So everything is still shaping up nicely on the weekly time frame. So now let's move on to the 1 day and see how that is looking. So based on the 1 day time frame here, we are seeing, like I said yesterday, some potential bearish divergences building. Now, a bearish divergence cannot be confirmed, especially in uptrends, guys. It is very dangerous and very important that we do actually stay very patient with these if you are going to trade them, because we are making a higher high here, but price action is making a lower high. So yes, we would have bearish divergence, but firstly, we need to confirm a local high, and confirming a local high, that would play out this divergence. But since we have not confirmed a local high based on a 1 day time frame right now, I'm not looking at this to play out just yet. So we need to look for some sort of reversal candlestick formation or a local high to be set in for us to be looking for that. But even if a local high is set in, I believe that would be another buying opportunity, because if we are looking at our 1 day, our last higher low that was set in, so we had our setups on the 4-hour, if you go back to the videos, at $29,000. We had multiple days of green here, and then I said that I would ultimately be looking for a higher low to be set in. And from that high low, we did dip about 11%, but a higher low and a higher high. That is going to give us our bullish market structure. And it came down right to the monthly pivot. That is where we saw reaccumulation by the bulls at $37,728. And that is exactly where our higher low is. So anywhere above that is ultimately good for price action. It is still in a bullish structure here, and I would have no problems with the price action overall. And I would be looking at ultimate continuation based on the high time frames, such as the weekly that we looked at. So even if this bearish divergence is to play out, I think that would get rid of the over leveraged long positions, and that would simply help the price action reset on the lower time frames and give us that next momentous drive to the upside. Now, anywhere back below the monthly pivot, well, that is going to start to look much more bearish. I don't believe we're going to be going back down there, anytime soon here, but things are possible. So definitely be looking at that region as a key support in the market to definitely keep an eye on. And there is no reason to be using high leverage here because the price action has given us multiple nice opportunities since $29,000 for long positions and short positions. But at this point, we are starting to see that break from the January 2021 highs. So anywhere for a higher low, above the January 2021 highs, such as $42,000, I would have absolutely no problems with either, and that would be still looking good for price action. Now we are above the R2 here. We've seen an open here, but another closure would be also nice. And then a potential continuation move coming up to the top of this order block. So we do have an order block here that I want to quickly look at with you all, because of course we want to stay very, very focused on where the price action sits right now. Even though the weekly is looking good, we do have some bearish divergences showing across many time frames. And we have actually stopped exactly at this order block at the moment. And that is going to be exactly right here. So we simply dipped into it very, very slightly this morning, as you can see. So it starts from, this is quite a large one here, from $46,693 all the way to $51,583. So if you wanted to trade this very conservatively, getting back above here, I think that is the point that we will be seeing the all-time highs. At this point, I do believe that the trend and the market structure is pretty clear to the upside. Of course, the weekly is still in a downtrend. I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. But this would be the order block to surpass. And if you guys do remember us talking about the 0.618 here, from the 0.618 and the 0.65, the golden pocket, this was actually right here. This is actually lining up exactly inside of this order block. So it's an absolutely huge region. Definitely be looking at the $47,765 to $48,756 region, which is the 0.618 to 0.65 Fibonacci levels, and getting back above there, that would be ultimately good, and the order block as well. So we are facing some resistance, but at this point, any pullbacks, look for that high low to be set in. And I do believe there was one more thing I wanted to discuss here very quickly. And that would be here, the volume profile. Very quickly looking at it, you can see that the high volume node is of course in the order block as well. So we do have a high volume node coming in right at the EQ of the order block at around 48,000 or 49,156. So yes, we are reaching a high time frame region here. Any pullbacks would be looked at firstly as a high-low opportunity, and that is where I would be looking to add even more long positions. Of course, this is on derivatives. I'm still holding spot positions, as I've already mentioned, but we're reaching a big area with some oscillators, losing a little bit of momentum. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world, but at the end of the day, that is going to give us more opportunity as well. So now going on to the CME chart very quickly, what is the order block we just spoke about? That is lining up quite nicely with the gap that we have to the downside from the 14th of May. So once again, we are seeing some large resistance come into this region. That is where we rejected, and I believe, front ran this gap a little bit, pumping into it here a little bit more. Of course, we will have a partial fill of the gap, but we can see how big this is as well. So the top of the gap is exactly at 48,315, which lines up inside of our order block on the spot price action, and regaining this region, that's going to be much better for the bulls. And we do have a gap below us at 32,790, but I would more so look at this as more of a runaway gap, as we did have further continuation from it right away. The dip to the downside was bought up on our key support, even on the CME chart here on the monthly pivot, and ever since then that has been quite a nice move of about 25%. So as for the CME chart, which is very important, I would still be looking at that last high low that was set in on the monthly pivot, where we looked for long positions and took long positions as the key support for the price action. Coming down here as well would just be another high low potential as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And now moving on to it. Actually, let's move on to the lower time frames here very quickly, because on the lower time frames, I was looking for more of a pullback here yesterday. I was looking for the weekly pivot at $42,163. At the very least, that would be taking out the liquidity from this candle here on the 8th of August. We did not end up actually taking out that level. So to be fair, we did end up going to the lows 42,810, and the weekly pivot was $42,163. So yes, pretty close, but then we saw our stochastic here actually give us a rejection from the bullish, the neutral territory, and move back into the neutral, the bullish control territory. Okay, so that is a bullish read, but based on the 4-hour, we are seeing some divergences here as well. So this didn't quite go down there, but if you were watching the Ethereum chart and trading it, which is what we're going to go on to right now, you would have had a perfect trade as well. And we did end up coming back down here. If I go, I believe we did front run it a little bit. Let me go ahead and check that out. Yeah, so we did slightly front run this region. So Ethereum testing the new weekly pivot. This was yesterday in the afternoon at 3:23. So yes, we had one test down to it. What was this on the 1 hour time frame? So yeah, we did have one test down to it, and then let's move on. Yeah, so one test down, and then we did end up going a little bit lower, taking out the lows, coming down to the weekly pivot, and an absolutely fantastic buying opportunity from there. So I was looking for kind of the same thing, obviously, for Bitcoin, coming down to the weekly pivot support. That's the first area that would be a low risk buying area, and we did end up for Ethereum moving up 11% from there, not quite hitting it on Bitcoin, but overall Ethereum did make a nice move. Where is your general take profit area, at least take profit one area? It is going to be at the weekly R1. Where do we see rejections at? Exactly at the weekly R1. There's going to be profit takers. There's going to be counter trades coming in at the R1 after the pivot here. So I like how we have rejected from there, but it's getting above the highs here, actually at 3,250. We have a horizontal. Is that a high time frame horizontal we have? Yes. So this is actually, this should be a little bit higher. So we had a zone which we discussed, and we are still inside that zone as well. This is a high time frame zone. That's a daily horizontal. This is the wick low, which is very important to me. So basically sitting in this big zone here that we discussed yesterday, I would like to see closures above here to move back to the all-time high slowly but surely. But remember what I said at the anchored VWAP here. This was an anchored VWAP from the highs. This is typically going to be where the large sell orders are going to come into the market, and where the institutional traders are going to be trading at the average volume weighted average price. And so getting back above that region, and more importantly, holding above that region, that is going to be bullish for price action. That means the sell orders that would have been coming in here, such as the last one that we saw, that gave us a 50% move to the downside, they have dried up here, and there is no one really protecting this region anymore. And that is when we saw our continuation thus far, about a 20% continuation from that as well. So for me, the key support is still going to be, as I have already mentioned, at 2,711 based on the high time frames for Ethereum. Any moves even all the way down there would not be problematic, because Ethereum could set in a higher low here as well and reset based on the 1 day, the 12-hour, and the 4-hour, and still be in a bullish trend. Once we start to get back below the last high low that we set in here at $2,502, which is very far away from price action right now, but remember, we are dealing with big ranges and just a straight move to the upside. I don't have any problems with this price action. I'm ultimately looking for continuation as well. Is Ethereum setting in some divergences like Bitcoin? Not quite here. We did have a nice spike. This could definitely use a little bit of a reset as well, definitely on the stochastic as well. But remember, for a trending market, we're not just going to be selling just because the stochastic is all the way here. Maybe in a ranging market, that's going to work out well, but in a trending market, you need to wait for confirmations of support loss for any short positions, because if we are just shorting and holding those shorts, more importantly, then that's going to end up in big losses, in my personal opinion, overall in a trending market. So we have been ranging for a while, so we could be expecting, you know, some nice moves, which we have thus far gotten as well. Now let's move on to Chainlink USD. Hopefully this does not look the exact same as it has for the past little while, and it does. It is sitting at the exact same area. So still for Chainlink, I don't have much else new to say. So remember the anchored VWAP we just looked at for Ethereum, that was from the all-time highs. What I want to see for Chainlink here is a move back above $26, and I think that's when we will see the big continuation move come in for Chainlink, all the way up to at the very least $30, and that's a trade I would be interested in, because that is, you know, already a 16% move to the upside. Another trade I have been interested in was back at our support region. Once resistance breaks, that turns into support. We can look for an RS flip, and that has been a 23% move back to our key resistance. So Chainlink will need to get back above the 2608 if you wanted to be very conservative with this, above the monthly R2 at 2635. Get some, you know, 4-hour closures even above there, or if you want to be, you know, trading it off the time frame, some daily closures, and I would be looking for overall continuation to the R3. But right now we are playing out a range from $21 or $20.94 all the way up to that anchored VWAP. So that's about it for Chainlink. Really not much else new to say, as we do have a nice range going on right at the highs, which could be perceived as bullish as well, as long as support is not lost, and it could be perceived as reaccumulation, but definitely lagging behind Ethereum and Bitcoin right now. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I appreciate your time. Go ahead and leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to join the private Technical Analysis group, go ahead and send me a message on Discord. My username is down below in the description, at the top of the description. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video.